What if I told you you could earn Bitcoin from your podcast listens? Yep, sounds too good to be true, but apparently you can. So in this video, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper and see if I can actually earn some Bitcoin myself. So I actually heard about this on a podcast about podcasting called Podland. Show I'm a big fan of. My friend Sam is a co-host. Actually, wait, let me see if I can play you the clip.
Been busy earning us money. Well done, sir. Now, the podcast app and Lightning client Breeze has partnered with the Lightning node provider Voltage to help podcasters earn Bitcoin. Ooh.
Right, yeah, I don't understand what that means either, but one of the co-hosts of the show, James, is also the editor of Podnews, which is a daily email that goes out all about the podcasting industry. He's written a blog post all about the process that he followed in order to earn these Bitcoin, so that's what I'm going to try and do now. Let's jump right into it. How to earn Bitcoin from your podcast. That sounds like exactly what we need to do. So, number one, make sure your podcast is in the podcast index. I know that mine already is because I have checked before and we've been using it recently because of the problems with Apple. If not, it's really easy to sort out. Number two, get your podcast's RSS feed. Also really easy. And you can find that on Podcast Index. Number three, register with Podcaster Wallet. So far, I've just been reading stuff, learning, trying to understand like what nodes are, and I've got to set up a wallet. It's not actually very difficult and I haven't had to take many steps. It's mainly just been reading and understanding what's going on. Okay, at this point it's asked me to install Telegram. Telegram is an app a bit like WhatsApp, or I think there's another one called Signal. I downloaded them a few months ago. Haven't ever found any use for them. I think they're like super encrypted. Thought it might be the next trend, but I clearly am not in that gang. But I finally found a use for it, so I'm gonna do that now. Here we go, finally getting somewhere.
A few moments later.
Oh cool, it works. Okay, so that was actually way more plain sailing than I expected. For transparency and as a disclaimer, I don't know how secure it is. It feels secure, it feels quite simple. You don't have to create lots of accounts. It uses Telegram for communications. It's got like a bot built into it, so you type commands with your RSS feed and it tells you what to do, which was really good. And I can see how that is going to have a much more popular way of guiding people through things in the future. I also found some really good documentation, which is linked to GitHub. I'm not a developer, so I don't really understand a lot of what it said. So I kind of did it in blind faith because partly that's my personality, partly I just can't see there being that many dramas from what I did. There's a little bit of verification, so it wants to check you own the RSS feed. It wants to check that you have control over the podcast, so you have to put a snippet into your show notes, which you can then delete after it's found them. All of that happens super, super fast. It was really easy to do. The whole thing works based on a project called the Podcast Index, which is basically been built to enable developers to get open, easy access to a more complete list or directory of all the podcast. So it's kind of trying to move on from the Apple directory of podcasts, which is what lots of people have relied on to date, but for reasons we won't go into in this video, that could be becoming more complex. So you're only actually going to get paid Satoshis if people listen on certain platforms that are linked to the Podcast Index. Yeah, so you're only going to make Bitcoin or crypto if people are listening on one of a number of different apps, which includes ones you might have heard of would be like Podcast Addict, Breeze, Buzzsprout, or one of those places that someone has had the listen, because that's kind of how it all gets attributed. So you're not going to get paid crypto if they've listened on Spotify or Apple. So this isn't something that I would be taking seriously. It's just mainly for a bit of fun, and because I don't know if it's just the echo chamber that I live in, but all I ever hear about is podcasting and crypto and blockchain, and I think there's a lot to do with those two things coming together in the future, which I'm really excited about. How much am I going to earn from this? Well, not a lot. You get paid in Satoshis, which are shortened to sats. 1,687 sats in $1. As this stands, it's the beginning of May 2021. And you need about 100 million sats to make 1 Bitcoin. I can't quite work out how many sats you get paid per listen, but I do know from that Podland episode that in a week they'd made like $1.40. So my math says hardly any. But you never know. If you'd have bought Bitcoin back in 2013, you'd be laughing now. I also don't think I'm going to be retiring from my Satoshi earnings, but I will check back in, keep you posted with how many I've earned, see if I can figure out the attribution of listens to earnings. Thanks to James and Sam at Podland for putting me onto this one, and I will see you in another video very soon. Okay,